Hey there, gamers, and welcome to this spooky Halloween episode of Critical Damage, Emerson's only video game show. I'm your host, Piper, or Chloe today, and today we'll be determining what makes a good horror game. Now, a horror game is any game that gives you the creepy crawlies, and these games make up a fairly large portion of the video game industry. From Until Dawn to Doki Doki Literature Club to the cult classic game and new movie, Five Nights at Freddy's, there are all sorts of horror games to enjoy. But what separates a good horror game from a bad one? Is it the spooky atmosphere, the intimidating enemies, the chilling story, or the terrifying jump scares? Today, I'll be joined by Sarah and Sakai to answer these questions and share some of our favorite horror games along the way. So grab your Halloween candy and join us for this very special episode, if you dare. So, we all know, based on my outfit, that I love story games. And I want to know, does a scary game or a horror game need a story to be scary?
For me personally, it depends, not necessarily. I think a story can definitely enhance a horror game, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Like, for example, one of my favorite horror games is called It Steals. Basically, the whole premise, I'm not gonna spoil too much, but the whole premise is you're trapped in this room, there's a monster, and the monster's running away from you. However, if you encounter a monster, jump scare, scary. However, it doesn't necessarily have a story. And I think that's kind of like adds to the scariness of it, if that makes sense.
Like the fear of the unknown?
Yeah, fear of the unknown, and then like also your brain's trying to piece together what's going on, why am I here, all that stuff. So that kind of adds to that confusion and like that mental overload, if that makes sense. And I really think that on top of the just general amazingness of It Steals, I definitely recommend please play it. It is such a good game. But I think that really just like adds to everything about it. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that it depends on what type of game you're playing, but I do really like story in a horror game because it makes you feel immersed into whatever world they're putting you in, so then it feels like you and the monster are there together. There doesn't feel like this divide between you and the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I mean, some of my favorite horror games are, I don't know if you know the Dark Anthology series. They're all like these, they very lore-heavy horror games and like, summer camp slashers, those sorts of things. And I think the story really does add to it. But I know sometimes with a story, if there's too much thrown at you at once, you're like, I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, like FNAF, I don't even know what they're doing right now. But it gets to a point where it becomes frustrating and like you're focusing more on the story than the actual gameplay. And I will say that when there is an intentional story, it can be used really, really well. There are a lot of horror games with like really engrossing stories and like really like poignant and just like really cool themes that they explore, like just in terms of like human nature and stuff like that. But I think when you're intentional on whether or not you want to have a story versus not, and then like making sure you're not trying to like exist in that in between, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, speaking of FNAF, so I think we all probably have heard of this thing called the uncanny valley. It's basically when something is so human that it's terrifying, or so normal that it's scary. And in that game, those little Chuck E. Cheese animatronics are terrifying.
Yeah.
So do you think games should lean into this uncanny valley sort of thing in the sounds and the visuals for the horror?
Absolutely, yeah. I absolutely love the Uncanny Valley. I mean, a while back, Baldi's Basics was really popular.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And everything about that was just Uncanny Valley, like with the main villain himself, the main like character himself, and then even in the school setting.
It was like a brightly lit
Yeah,
it was just something off-putting
yeah,
about it.
Everything was just a little off, and that's just what made that game. Everybody go, what is this? What am I walking into right now?
Yeah, I think also another really good series of games. Do you guys know the Chilla's Art game series?
No, I don't.
It's very, I'm not gonna say it's similar to Baldi's Basics, because it's not, but it's in that similar vein of Uncanny Valley where the graphics, the ambiance, it's like very like pixely and grainy.
Yeah.
The models, they're like, it looks like a really low poly model with like a human skin like put on it. It's really weird. And then just like everything from like the ambiance to sound design, everything like that. It's really, I think some of my favorite games like lean into that aspect in some way, whether it's intentional or not, because like the concept of uncanny valley, it really like leans into like just basically like that human little neuron, that silly little neuron in your brain that's saying like, oh, this seems human, but there's something off about it. So I should be scared, but I'm not scared. And oh my gosh, what is happening? Boom, brain explosion. And then it's just kind of like, yeah, I think that some of my favorite games lean into that, and I think there are a lot of really cool things that you can do with it.
I think a lot of games just end up being kind of uncanny
Yes.
valley as well, because some games, they strive to be so human, and then you are playing it and you're like, this is weird. Like, I feel weird. I know some people like playing the game Detroit Become Human.
Ooh, that's
because
a really
they're
good game.
they're such a good game and they're so human-like, but then at the same time you're like, but it's not. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
You definitely get that feeling while playing the game. It's like, is this gonna turn a weird, scary direction just because of like the little thing in your brain that's saying this is a little off?
Yeah, it's a little off. Yeah, and I think like even with what's it called? Like some non-horror games as well. Like for example, okay, this is kind of embarrassing, but sometimes when I used to play Stanley's Parable, especially Ultra Deluxe, sometimes I would find myself being genuinely scared because you're walking down this hallway, it's bright, you're in this office sensing, what's happening? But it's not even that. Like a door would open. You go to look inside that door, and it's a dark, dreary, like disgusting, eerie like room, and like for me, the funny guy in me is like, oh, I want to like go against the story because like, you know, that's the whole point of the game. So I want to go inside, but at the same time, you're like, what's in there?
Yeah.
You know? So it's sometimes like the unintentionality, and like sometimes, yeah, I think it's really cool how like they can like lean into that. I don't know.
Yeah, that is really cool. And so we were talking a little bit about Baldi's Basics. I think it's funny because it's such a random game, but we all know about it. I remember that broom vividly. It'd be like, gotta sweep, sweep, sweep.
Running from the broom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you think these like technological limitations can like help a horror game, and how can it kind of hinder it as well?
I think it depends. It depends on how intentional you are with it, and how I want to say, like how aware you are of those
self-aware.
Yeah, because you have like these amazing games like Yume Nikki, Ao Oni, who were made on freaking RPG Maker, you know? And then you have games like Security Breach, which had like a huge budget, really like strong series set behind it, and which in my opinion wasn't that scary at all. So I think for me, I think it's more so knowing the limitations of the medium that you're using to create said game. So like for example, if you're going on if you're using like a like RPG Maker, for example, you have like that 8-bit type of feel. Sometimes you realize maybe it's a little bit corny. There's not a lot of stuff you can do in terms of like setting ambiance and like jump scares and stuff like that. However, also, there are limitations in game mechanics that could sometimes enhance the gameplay and make it feel more scary. And then versus like an open world type of realm where it's like you have so many options that you feel like, oh, I have a lot of options, so I shouldn't be as scared because there's a way that I can get out of the situation. So it's kind of like,
sometimes you need it to be like inevitable.
Inevitable, yeah. So it's kind of like finding that balance between like the different modes and different mediums and like the limitations that you have. So I think it depends.
Oh yeah, definitely understanding limitations of what you can do with your technology is absolutely key, because there's been some games, I don't have a specific example, but I know there's some games where it's like, oh, this is a really good vision, but it didn't just play out the way they wanted it to. But using other things such as sound, I think can really change what's going on with that. Because if you have a game that's not super visually scary, you can add just some creepy ambiance and random noises and just throw the person off. Because I think with horror games, just being thrown off track in general can scare you.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Sound design is really important, especially what you said about like throwing people off and like red herrings, like, you know, like when you're playing a horror game and like you hear like footsteps like scurrying past you and they're like, oh, what's going on? Or stuff like that.
Sometimes
I think that's really cool.
Sometimes I find the scariest moment is when like the sound is really like ramping up, right? And you are expecting something and you get nothing.
Yeah.
I love that.
You're just sitting there like, am I supposed to be screaming right
Yeah. Or like when you're trying to when you're about to turn a corner and like you expect oh, the guy's gonna be right there and like they're not there. So like kind of like playing with your mind in that type of way. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I think sound really does help with that. And of course the visuals as well.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite examples of sound is in Minecraft. You know, when you're like in the caves exploring and it's like, oh, you're just exploring in the caves, blah, 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 it's dark. And then you hear like a
Yeah.
and you're like, what's happening?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I don't know if this is a universal experience. Like playing on your mom's iPad, like it's 11 p.m. You know you're not supposed to be on your iPad right now, but you are anyway. And then you hear that noise and you're like, oh, maybe I should turn off Minecraft right now. It just scares you out of it.
I remember when I was younger, the scariest sound is when you're building or you're in your house or something, and then you hear the hiss of a creeper, and it's like, oh no, this is it. This is the end. And then you close out the game. And you're like, nope, go to bed. Good night.
The world is done. The world is done. You're done.
Yep,
You're
never
done.
going back to
Never
that
going
one.
back. Yeah, no.
So speaking of Minecraft, why do we find moments in these like non-horror games so scary? And why do some of these games like hit harder almost than actual horror games?
I think it's because there's some level of comfort in a game that's not labeled as horror. It's like, oh, this isn't gonna be scary, this is gonna be a good time. And then something comes out of nowhere and scares you because it catches you even more off guard than it would in a horror game. I think even in Doki Doki Literature Club, that was a horror game, but I remember seeing people play through it and just them being like, what, is this a horror game? What is this?
Yeah.
And then it eventually hit.
A false sense of security.
Yeah.
Why am I playing this? This isn't horror.
It isn't horror, and then it hits.
And then, oh my god.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. I think it's because you're not expecting it at all, that what makes it hit the hardest. And I think that a lot of elements that make good horror games, like ambiance, atmosphere, good sound design, like good writing, good game mechanics, also just are what make good games in general. So you're gonna have some of those aspects when you have a really good game where the devs are really intentional about what they're doing. And so then you get games like Subnautica or even like Minecraft, for example, which are supposed to be like really feel-good, cozy games. And then like out of nowhere, you get like jump scared by like a random sound or random thing. And you're like, oh, what's going on? You know, it just adds to that sense of atmosphere and player experience.
I will admit, in Minecraft, until I was maybe like 12, I would only play in peaceful mode because every time I heard one of those spiders or one of those creepers, I was out of there.
Oh my god.
Too scary. I could not handle it.
Very valid. Very
All right.
valid.
Well, to finish off, I just wanted to ask, what are some of your favorite horror games?
I think I already touched on this a little bit, but It Steals is one of my favorite. Please play It Steals. I'm not gonna explain it, but just play it because the different like game modes and the different ways that you interact with the monster, I think it's just like so new and fresh, and the way just play It Steals. Play it, please.
There was a game a while back. It's called Sarah is Missing, and
I've heard of
it was like a text-based game, but also not. You were like on your computer, but it was like there was a phone in front of you, and you like found her phone.
I remember that
and
one.
It just got creepier and creepier as you went through. I also watched a playthrough of this game earlier today. It was called Sinister Squidward, and it was so creepy, but it was so
I feel
funny.
like I've heard of that before.
I'm gonna be looking that up later tonight.
Yeah.
You absolutely should. It's creepy and hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, I love parody games like that where it's like it's genuinely good, but also like it's SpongeBob. So it's like it's so cool. Yeah.
All right, I've got to promote my favorite horror games. So I love Until Dawn. That's a classic. It's from I think like 2013, but it's stuck with me for so long. The scariest part in that is when you have to hold the controller really still so that the monster doesn't like eat your face off. And it's so terrifying because, and I immediately killed Sam. I'm still sad about it, but I was like trying to hold on to it like, oh no. And then a new one from that company is The Quarry, which I also loved. It's like, you know, your typical summer camp slasher, and I love those so much. That's like a weird niche that I love. And you know, I just think these games, they're super massive games, they really understand horror, and it's like you don't need to love the characters, you just need to want them to survive. And often they do not survive, especially when I'm playing. All right. Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining me today on this spooky episode. And I think it's about time to throw it over to JR for First Frame News.
Thanks, Piper. Hey everyone, welcome to First Frame News. My name is J.R. Besteman.
And I'm Kyoung Jung, and we're here to bring you the latest and greatest in gaming news.
First up was the apology for the Gollum game written by ChatGPT. The apology was posted after the game received poor reviews, specifically on the underwhelming experience and countless bugs. Readers immediately noticed multiple discrepancies in the post, such as the weird wording and the title of their own game being misspelled. Now, months after the apology, developers have come forward, revealing that they were not the ones who wrote it and had no idea that it was even being formulated. They also have reason to believe that their parent company, Nacon, used ChatGPT to write the apology, stating that the reason behind the poor quality.
On a lighter note, from a small bakery in Benicia, California called One House Bakery, a mother by the name of Catherine Perrin and her daughter, Hanneline Perrin, spent 400 hours making a bread sculptor of the clicker enemy from the iconic HBO show and Naughty Dog video game, The Last of Us. They titled the piece The Last of Crust and entered it into the downtown Benicia Main Street Scarecrow contest, which they do every year.
Assassin's Creed Mirage released recently and has breathed some much-needed life into the long-running franchise. Upon the announcement of the game, fans were immediately excited for the franchise's seemingly return to form. Developers promised to return to stealth-based combat, dialing back on the RPG elements of the previous titles, and a smaller campaign overall. Well, the game is released, and it seems like the developers lived up to their promise and more. Mirage also makes leaps and bounds in terms of representation in the series, dealing with many of the past critiques over Assassin's Creed's portrayal of Middle Eastern people and women. I haven't played Assassin's Creed Mirage yet, but as a longtime fan of the series, I'm so happy to see some of the original joy of the series rekindled.
Moving on to some shocking news. Both the respective CEOs of PlayStation and Unity recently stepped down. John Riccitiello, the CEO of Unity, stepped down after Unity changed the licensing fee of their engine to per usage, which burned goodwill with customers. PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan also recently stepped down, stating, "I found it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America." However, many PlayStation fans have openly claimed to not liking Jim as a CEO. We may never know the true reason for his departure, but here's to hoping the next CEOs of PlayStation and Unity do a better job catering to the customers' needs.
Minecraft's annual mob vote happened recently, and it brought about its fair share of controversy. For those of you who don't know, each year Mojang holds a vote where they ask fans to select one of 3 potential mobs to be added to the game. Prior to the vote on October 13th, there was a large community rallying to boycott the vote entirely, citing a multitude of issues, namely the way popular YouTubers rally their fan bases in support of their favorite option, and the results of the winner. This year's vote, the Armadillo, which had 43.2% of the votes, meaning that over 50% of the voters were left unhappy. Proposed solutions are limiting the vote to 2 choices, removing the vote entirely, or adding all 3 options, as modders have been able to do so in a fraction of the time.
And finally, the old voice of Mario retired, and we now know who Nintendo casted for the iconic plumber after Charles Martinet. Mario's new voice actor is confirmed to be Kevin Afghani, who announced the news on social media saying, "Incredibly proud to have voiced Mario and Luigi in Super Mario Bros. Wonder."
And now, some indie game shoutouts.
Have a Nice Death, a comedic 2D action roguelike by Magic Design Studios, where you take control of Death himself and show your out-of-control employees who's the real boss.
Pizza Tower, a highly stylized, blindingly fast 2D platformer inspired by Wario Land by Tour de Pizza, where you take control of an anxiety-ridden Chef Peppino and save your restaurant.
Thunder Ray, a beautifully animated retro-style boxing game by Purple Tree, where you take control of up-and-coming Boxer Ray and fight your way up the bloody path to becoming the GOAT.
Signalis, a terrifying survival horror by Rose Engine set in a dystopian world's government space facility, where you must unravel a mystery that spans years and discover your lost dreams while not losing your life. Back to you, Piper.
Thanks, JR and Kyoung, and welcome back. For today's variety segment, we'll be drawing pictures of the video game characters that we believe are the spookiest on these pumpkins. The catch is we only have 2 minutes to draw this character completely from memory. Next, we will each have about a minute to explain why this character is the scariest, and the winner will be crowned the king or queen of Halloween. So let's get started. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
No.
Ready?
No.
Oh, no, never.
Sakai, guess what?
What?
Chicken butt. All right, let's go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
Okay,
Now
All
we
right, I gotta
start.
get serious here, guys.
Tiny little
I
head.
don't know if I want 2D or 3D.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Please don't do 3D. That makes
I
it.
think you
That
should
makes it
do
okay. If you
3D.
do 3D
Exactly.
and you do
Oh,
it
I'm doing
good,
3D.
then
Do
then that is
3D.
making us all look bad, all right?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
the shoulders are massive.
So whose
Just-
best class in high school was art? I need to know what I'm going against.
What was the
Actually,
question?
Not me.
Who
Not
took
me.
who took art?
I took ceramics. Does that count?
Ooh.
I took intro to visual art. I don't know if
Oh,
that counts
fancy.
as anything.
They
This
just
is a
made.
square.
Everybody's
This
gonna
looks
laugh at
like
me.
it's
I
from
forgot.
Minecraft.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I forgot I was doing 3D.
So hard that I can't. Like,
You know what?
my
It's an
God.
artistic choice. Okay, I'm gonna take off this hood. We're getting serious.
it's really
guys.
hard
Here you
because
go.
I can't. I don't have anything to stabilize my arm, so I have really bad.
Oh my
Alright.
god.
I think everybody's gonna think
Yeah.
this is something that it's not, which
Wait,
is not
no.
the thing that everybody thinks it is. Did I say the same thing twice? Yes.
Yes, you did.
Does he have arms?
You know, when I was in elementary school, I was really good at drawing puppies. So like, you guys better get ready, cause
But you're not drawing a puppy.
I'm not drawing a puppy, unfortunately.
Exactly. All right.
Exactly.
So this, you know, that kind of does.
Is it
put a
okay if
damper
my
on
guy
things.
doesn't have hands because I'm not
okay.
good at them? So like, I think I'm just gonna leave.
Artistic choice. We're taking artistic.
My artistic
liberties.
choice is to not have hands, but like when you picture it, imagine it has hands and
Yes.
some
I'm imagining
mean
they look bad.
eyebrows. Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
imagining.
Oh, okay. Oh, this
Not
is so much
imagining
better. I should
anything,
have just
actually.
changed the
just
way
want
that I
Santa
was
to feel included.
positioning myself.
I gotta give him good hair.
All right.
Here, he has luscious locks.
Oh God, I've
Don't
never
know
drawn
what she
feet.
wears, but we're just.
That
gonna
is
have to
not
go with it.
good.
So what you're saying is that you should have drawn feet.
All right.
Okay, is that enough
Here you
skulls? How many skulls is too many skulls?
Not
Not
enough
a,
skulls.
not,
There can
yeah.
always.
There's never.
I'm gonna
not
bide
enough
my
skulls.
time just
More
drawing more skulls,
How much
and
longer
that
do we have?
is how I'm gonna
We
win this
have
competition.
Technically,
Which hand is this?
you know what? Time is a
Right.
construct.
Okay,
Social
so
construct. We have it.
so the thumb goes
Just writing things.
Nose on
that way. Okay, wait.
I don't know
Okay.
what
Wait, does Piper
add. I'm
decide
just
who
that
wins?
good.
No, we all decide.
We
Okay.
vibe.
Okay. I
It's
totally
like a
forgot.
group
Look at this.
effort.
It's like
That's a hand.
it's a hand. Look at you.
I
go.
did it.
Let's go.
All right.
Yes.
So 10,
Oh my god.
9.
Wait, are you serious?
Okay. 2 minutes go by fast. Wait, wait, wait.
7,
Wait, he needs to be more
6,
rotund.
No,
5,
I got this.
Here you go.
4,
Don't.
3, 2, and 1.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think I did great.
So I believe we should start with JR,
Oh God.
which I'm shocked. What is that?
A Wendigo from
A
Until Dawn.
Wendigo.
Really long body, really sharp teeth, but I realized that I drew the mouth too small to actually like show. I did actually go like to draw teeth,
Our teeth.
but there are teeth there. You just can't see them.
Yeah.
For
You just see
good
really
for
small
biting.
things.
Then the thing that like really is like terrifying is they have these like really long nails, and they did some
Pull your
creepy
face
things in the
off.
game, but like PG rating,
Yeah.
so I can't say. Feet, they don't have clothes on, so they're just like these really long like white bodies. And then I last minute also drew in person because like they like to grab people.
Who's that? Is that Sam?
I think I made that Josh.
That's Josh. Okay.
Josh?
Yeah.
Because kind of Josh is also kind of the one who deserves that because Josh is just Josh.
All right.
Josh.
So why is the Wendigo the scariest?
Because it like I love how in the game you can just like see eyes constantly and you could just like hear it has like a really cool shriek that it's just horrifying, and they also move. They do a mixture of like crawling and standing up, and they move in such like a rigid like frantic motion that I think they're just like ferocious killers, and they're really cool.
They're also cannibals.
They are cannibals.
That makes them cool.
Yeah. Eating people.
Oh gosh. All right. Next one, Kayan.
All right, so who I draw is a Pokemon, a ghost ground Pokemon called Apollo Sand. And it's from, I forget, it's from the Alola generation. Alola, so like the 7th one, I think, the 7th one. And so ghost Pokemon, ghost Pokemon are the type that essentially allows Game Freak to write really morbid entries. And this guy, he likes to trap people in the sand, and then he eats them. He like drains their energy, and then that is why there's so many skulls. So he's a sandcastle that
Eats people?
Yeah, that essentially eats people and drains their life source. Kind of like how you guys mentioned like Minecraft and how like like creepers are scary. This is Pokemon's version of that. And it's not only just Palossand, it's the representation of all ghost Pokemon, because they're all terrible. They're all really morbid.
All right.
Cool, guys.
All right. You want to go next?
All right. I have this little guy, one of the Furby guys from Tattletale. If you have been on the internet, if you've been no-lifing the internet from the period of 2012 to 2014, you probably know who he is, unfortunately. It's just like, that's not even like the big bag, it's not even Mama from Tattletale. It's just one of like the little guys like you find under the Christmas tree in your presents. It's basically just like a small child in Furby form, and also really annoying because like every other second he's like, give me a treat, and like you're like, shut up, because you're trying to shut up, child, because you're just kind of like because you're trying to not get caught by Mama, and then Mama comes and she's like, ah, and you're like, why does it keep talking to me? So yeah, I think it's the scariest because children are scary, and
Real.
yeah,
That's so real.
here in Critical Damage, we think children are terrifying. Yeah.
That's a very cute
should've
drawing.
written
Oh, thank you.
So nice.
I honestly, I think what really gives him characters is soulless eyes, right here.
Yeah.
Nothing. Not a
Very
single
accurate
thought.
to an actual child.
Very accurate to an actual
They just want
child.
food.
They just want food. Literally, just wants a treat. Just wants a treat. Yeah.
All right.
And the blood of their enemies.
All right. So to explain mine, I gotta set the scene. All right.
All right.
Ooh, okay.
You're playing Minecraft by yourself, mind you. You've not opened your world to other people. It is just you, your sheep, your little building that you've made. You are so proud of your build. And then in the chat it says, Hero Brian
Oh.
joined. And so I drew Hero Brian because I think he's the most terrifying thing. Because he just destroys everything that you know and love. And he comes out of nowhere. He just invites himself into your Minecraft world. And yeah, I remember back in the day the legends of Herobrine and doing all of the research I could on it, and I just think this is the scariest possible video game character.
Yes.
Here by Minecraft.
So he's a freeloader.
Yeah. He's a freeloader who destroys things, like blows things up, sets things on fire, steals your things,
He just sounds like
steals
a
your
really,
wife, you know?
sounds like a really bad roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a normal Minecraft player.
Just a average Minecraft player.
You just refer to all of us?
Yeah.
Yes, all of us. We're all like that. I
Life
mean, you
stealers.
did mention
You
arson
just
a
drew
lot
I
last
did,
episode.
You drew our
yeah.
worst
so-
fears.
Oh.
All right, so I'll move on to mine. I'll hold mine up so you guys can actually
Oh, yours
see
is
it.
really good. That
So
makes
this
me
is
upset.
mine.
Now I
do-
feel bad about myself.
All right.
I need to win, and this just isn't possible.
So
Mine's good.
I did Monica, just Monica, just Monica.
That's
She is
Chat
from
is real.
Doki Doki Literature Club, and she is the scariest thing. Is that she's a woman.
I said this before we
fear
filmed.
both children and women here on Critical Damage.
Apparently, the only thing that's safe is men. So do we support the patriarchy here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Damage, we support
backtrack.
the patriarchy.
Backtrack,
know.
backtrack. Okay,
We saw Barbie and understood the wrong thing.
all right.
Just kidding.
Okay, so Monica is very scary because she has sentience and she knows she's in a video game and she will do whatever it takes to be with you. If that means getting rid of all of her friends, she will do that. She will burn the whole place down. Arson to get with you. Arson.
She
yes.
did, actually.
She tore the whole thing down.
Yeah.
So, same sort of thing. But yeah, so she's just willing to do anything. And that's kind of scary because she has no morals and she will do whatever she wants to do.
She's just like me, for real.
Yeah. and then put it over your face.
Put it over my face?
Yeah.
Yes.
She just seems
Just
like a
Monica.
hopeless romantic girl.
Just Monica.
Like,
She's really girly.
Okay, okay.
Living her best unhinged life.
Yeah.
she just
She
wants
sounds like
love.
a girl boss. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I don't see
She just wants love
No.
in
Yeah,
a world
no,
that
like-
hasn't given her
any
any
love.
She's
She's a
support-
tragic character.
Yeah.
She supports women's rights and women's
women's
wrongs.
wrongs.
Women's wrongs.
Gender
But like
equality.
she
We
wants to
support
be with a
women's
man.
wrongs.
I support delusions. I support delusions.
I support women's delusion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think it's time for us to discuss
Okay.
who do we think has the scariest character? And
Me.
we can't say ourselves.
Aw.
All right. I am going to let me think. Oh my gosh, they're all so good. but
I'm gonna throw.
you
someone
know,
under the
I think that Hero Brian scared me a lot as a child, so I think I like that one.
Absolutely.
But, hey,
That says $5, by the way. It says it really poorly.
all right, hey, I'm not the one deciding. We have to come
Oh,
to this together.
so
Oh, this is a collective.
this is a collective.
this says $5.
$5.
This says
$5.
free hefes. Free hefes.
free
for anyone?
hefes.
If you vote for me, I'll give you free hefes.
Okay, this
This is just the
semester
facts.
of tuition.
This is just the truth right here.
just don't need anything else.
I don't
do-
need bribery.
I do want
I'm
to
just
say,
right.
I'm going to throw someone under the bus. Sakai, sadly, the Furby's not the scary thing, it's the mom, right?
But it's also, if you come to fear the Furby because you don't know what the Furby is going to do, it's the unpredictability of the weird creature thing that begins to become
But
scary.
I think woman is scarier than child.
But I'd also like to back up Kai because snitches get stitches. And
Exactly.
it seems like that little thing is just a snitch.
Yeah.
You just kick
And
it.
I'm ready to
That's
give
the
it some
stitch.
stitches.
Right? Give it some stitches. But what if we're scared of woman, what if woman-child even scarier?
Is that a woman child?
That's not a
Think of
woman.
a woman-child.
No.
Is that a headcanon or is
No.
that fact?
I
That's just a
think,
little guy.
trust me,
Trust you?
trust me.
Trust you?
Okay.
Is
Okay.
it blue or pink?
It's
So
fake.
apparently, I think in our logic, the most scary thing is a woman child
Yes.
because it's the combination.
It's the
of the two.
combination.
Monica's a
Okay, so
teenager.
it
essentially.
seems like what we've got is
$5.
thing that
Free hefes.
rips your face off,
Free hefes.
thing that eats people, thing that tells on you, and thing that arson. And will do anything for love.
Okay. In
She's
defense,
not scary. She's just my best
She's
friend.
passionate.
in my defense, this is a sand castle. All right, sand castles are fun. Whenever you go to the beach, do you want to make a sand castle?
No, I'm so real sorry. No.
Like,
I try my best.
we scared him
Hyung
away.
is out. Now who's next?
Disqualified.
Disqualified for leaving the
Disqualified.
set. Are we even going to come to an agreement here, or are we going to have to take
I'm
into
just
account?
right. I'm not taking any other argument. I'm right.
You know what, I'm going to decide on
that's
my
not- that's
fellow
not convincing. I
discussion
This is
take Monica.
coming from somebody who is 6 foot. Tall people are scary, and this thing is like 10 feet.
Everyone
Oh,
is tall
no,
to me.
we're not gonna
that
do
won't
that.
work.
So imagine
I'm
if
not
there,
afraid of
imagine if there were two of me. Imagine if there was somebody, two of me, looking down at you with white, soulless eyes and sharp teeth. Would that not be scary?
I mean, isn't that just corporate America?
Corporate America.
You aren't putting up much of an argument, so I will vote for Monica, sadly. I mean, gladly.
I don't need an
So sad.
argument. I'm just right.
No, I'm going to side with my fellow discussion host here. I think Hero Brian, I've watched too many Hero Brian animation creepy pastas on the internet as a kid. That scared the heck out of me.
Okay,
so I'm
okay.
going to.
Okay, what do we
So I'm saying Monica. So one for Monica, two for Hairbrine.
Yeah.
So it's
All right,
You still need to vote.
You need to vote.
Oh,
You can't vote for yourself.
I'll vote for
aw, thanks.
Yeah, a little thing. I wouldn't want that coming after my ankles.
Exactly.
I will also vote for Monica because
Okay, it's a tie.
But then it's a tie.
It's a tie. So
We fight to the. We just fight.
Okay, so Monica and Herobrine need to fight it out.
okay.
who do we
Next
think would
episode
win in a
on
fight?
critical damage.
Okay.
They fight.
Now, who do you think would Monica?
Yeah, who would win in a fight?
Monica would beat up Hero Brian.
Because Monica could go into the
She
code.
should go in the code.
Monica
And
is
goes-
God.
But also, Hero Brian can
he
go into the
could.
code.
But
Yeah.
what if Monica falls in love with Hairbrine? Sorry.
Oh,
Wait,
then
that
Hero
is a
Brian
good
is
guess.
MC in DDLC?
that's yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Okay,
Wait, maybe.
a game changer. They fall in love,
They fall in love.
Yeah.
and then they become the ultimate horror power
So-
couple.
so-
I think, yeah.
It's a draw.
It's
I
a
think
draw.
that's an amazing
They
draw.
kiss and they
And-
fall in love.
It's a draw.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So have we
Monica
become
and
the
Hairbrine are
queens
the power couple.
Yeah.
of Halloween?
You guys are on the groom side, we're on the
For-
bride side.
go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So they'll all be there for the wedding.
Yeah.
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 Furby.
That's
You're
Furby be
officiating
the
it.
flower girl, please.
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. What's the Wendigo? The ring bearer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The
Just
sand-
like crawls.
And the sandcastle venue.
Yeah.
That's the venue.
Free heifers. Free heifers.
Hey,
Free
venue
heifers.
and catering.
This
Easy.
This is perfect. We've created a beautiful love story
Yeah.
today here on
The true
Critical
horror
Damage.
story of love. That's horror.
All right, so I think that's all we have. I want to wish you all a happy Halloween, and I want to thank you guys for joining me. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of Critical Damage. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Watch Five Nights at Freddy's.